Breaking on the Rise News, time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's take a look at This Day, our sister publication. It's leading headlines with 43 days to go. INEC vows elections to hold as scheduled. Some riders, commission not contemplating postponement cancellation, says Yakubu. Lagos leads with 7 million registered voters. Kaduna Rivers follow. That leading photo there. Catholic bishops meet Buhari. That's President Muhammadu Buhari in a handshake with the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, yesterday at the presidential villa. And at that visit, Buhari says to the bishops, "I will reposition economy, improve security before leaving office." And above the nameplate of This Day this morning, NUPRC announces commencement of deep offshore mini-bid round.
In the Punch newspaper, it's leading with the elections as well. INEC final list, Northwest, Southwest, top 93 million voter register. Lagos has more than 7 million voters. Kano's got 5 million plus, and then Kaduna comes in with more than 4 million. The People's Democratic Party seeking an alliance with 11 parties. Yesterday we heard about the APC, the UK Sotheby's company over account issues, according to a report on page 21. INEC can't be trusted for credible poll. That's according to the presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore of the AAC.
Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. Northwest, Southwest top 93.5 million likely voters. Lagos leads with 7 million. Boko Haram is a plot to destroy Nigeria. That's from the president. Meanwhile, the APC presidential candidate Tinubu says Southeast to become industrial hub. Above the nameplate of the Nation this morning, APC PCC challenges Atiku on alleged corruption held status. An update from the train passengers that were kidnapped, 13 still remain in captivity.
Well, the update there, INEC in The Guardian, INEC assures poll must hold, says 93.4 million eligible to vote. Edo train attack, 20 kidnapped, not 32. That's the Edo State Commissioner for Communication clarifying. Will be Kwankwaso Yakubu for Chatham House next week. Bandits killed 2 abduct 4 women in Kaduna State.
And some international papers now. The Daily Mirror leading story this morning. Johnson back on the front pages. Same old Tories, same old Johnson. Just weeks before the COVID inquiry emerges, number 10 staff shredded Partygate documents. Meanwhile, the ex-PM still refuses to come clean about £20 million home.
The Financial Times, under threat in Brazil, President Lula has braced for more strife. Security agent forces are upping security, putting up barricades, expecting more protests from Bolsonaristas. Attacks on Royal Mail and Guardian stoke fears of a surge in cybercrime in the UK.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us now. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at This Day, and I'd like us to focus on its leading photo there before we look at that big election headline. You had Catholic bishops visiting President Buhari yesterday, and you can see this handshake with the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, who's very outspoken, Emmanuel. And above you see some of the things President Buhari was saying at that meeting about how he'll reposition economy, improve the security before leaving office this year. He also mentioned that Boko Haram is just really a plan to destroy Nigeria, Emmanuel.
Well, Nkechi, I think what's striking about that picture is that Father Kuka there, Bishop Kuka there, actually wrote a very scathing, criticism of this president just at Christmas, in his Christmas message. And in this picture, you can see them, just really chowing together and, Femi Adesina giving the backstory of that picture, say that look, it was all a very, very friendly atmosphere. Bishop Kuka actually saw him and said, look, are we going to continue fighting, or are we going to have a laugh, and all of that, painting a rosy picture of friendship between the bishop and the presidents. We're going to wait and hear what Bishop Kuka is going to say about that after now. I believe he has something to say. But the president too, again, doubling down on, insisting on giving himself a pass back. Continuing to say things like he has dealt with security problems, especially the Boko Haram crisis. Of course, the jury is out there. A lot of people questioning whether we are better secured now, whether his security plan has really worked for us as a country. We're still having stories, stories about abductions, even here in the nation's capital. So as if, the veneer or the symbol of security, of safety that you have in the nation capital, that has actually been dealt with already with, the bandits making inroads into the nation's capital. It's difficult to know whether or to agree with this president that he's done very well. But he's saying he was in Yobe State and Adamawa State, and he got feelers there that Boko Haram is no longer the problem that it used to be. But when you look at this president, especially in the early days of his campaign, when he was asked about Boko Haram, it sounded as if it was nothing. It was something he can deal with. He almost made light of it when he proverbially said, "What is Boko Haram?" But down the line, he's ending his career or his presidency by actually talking about that and looking at the problems he's faced, and now he sounds as if that threat or that danger is one that he dealt with. And even if he has done well with the Boko Haram thing, there are other security crises around the country that a lot of people have been taxing him to do something about. He's promising again that before May 29, he'll be able to deal with all those problems. And I don't know the magic he's going to pull off. He's not telling us. There are no details on how he plans to get those things down. A lot of people saying the outlay or the outlook for the economy is not even very brilliant. But the World Bank coming out with shocking statements that the economy is not doing very well, and you can feel it. Nkechi, you and I, we can tell whether our lives have actually improved under the government. But this president is saying that, look, all hope is not lost. In the next few months, he'll be able to, do the magic and, live in a blaze of glory. How he does that is something that I think is interesting for the rest of us to watch.
That's right, Emmanuel. He can't wait to leave. And Nigeria's electoral body, INEC, cannot wait to conduct the election. They're saying the elections must go on. The show must go on. And it's revealed that there are more than 90 million eligible voters.
Well, it's an interesting story, but it's running around. I think all the papers are leading with it in a way, looking at various perspectives, various angles. The Sun calling it a U-turn even, that INEC has done a U-turn. A U-turn because an official of Abdullahi Zuru, an official of INEC, started the whole controversy about whether elections can go on in this atmosphere, in the crisis that we're having, the security issue. So, the federal government walked that back with Lai Mohammed coming out yesterday. But INEC itself is now digging into that and said, look, we are prepared, we are more than prepared. And to reassure us, like we keep saying that, look, everybody needs a little bit of those kind of reassurances. INEC was able to it's talking about his voters register, looking at the numbers, looking at the demography, looking at the segments or even the region with the highest number of votes, the states that have the highest number of votes and all of that. The nation is gleefully leading with that on its front page and saying the Northwest, the Southwest has an advantage. And Kenneth, we were talking about it before the show. We say, who is advantaged by these numbers? While you cannot point to one particular party or one particular candidate taking advantage of this, of Northwest, Southwest, you can actually say that all of them, this story will be interesting for the campaigns because they will now look at where the chunk of the votes are. It's not as if this is not already in the public domain. I think even late last year, we already had INEC was already giving insight into where these votes are, almost practically helping the candidates and the campaigns to know where they're going to spend more money in advertisements and all of that. to understand where they can get more of the votes. So this sort of story is, is a working tool practically for the campaigns to know where they are going to go for more of those campaigns, dig for more votes, and it's an open market to all of them. But some people will say that, well, some parties, especially the leading, contenders, will be advantaged strongly. It's an argument and a debate that's going to go on. Northwest, Southwest, who gets the biggest chunk of votes in the parties?
Yes, Emmanuel, speaking of where parties are going to campaign or where they're focusing on, you have the APC presidential candidate Tinubu alongside other APC governors, Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, in Enugu State yesterday. And he says Southeast to become an industrial hub. He says one of his plans is to focus on the Southeast and improve it as Nigeria's industrial hub. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very ambitious for Tinubu to actually go into the Southeast and hope to get, get the kind of votes he's hoping to get, because the Southeast seems to be very decided, in the kind of direction. And there was a mild drama yesterday reported in some section of the media how some strong stakeholders in the Southeast pulled out of those rallies, didn't want to be part of it largely because of the internal crisis, I think, in Enugu State. So, but beyond that, yes, those are the kind of promises you expect from the candidates, especially when they go to the Southeast. They talk about the fact that they can make it, an industrial hub, and that's what should happen to the Southeast. Sadly, because of the infighting in the Southeast, those in Kechi last year, we mourned and cried over some of the things, the sit-at-homes, the crisis, the IPOP crisis, and all of that, almost turning the Southeast into some kind of wild east situation. Not many people finding it easy to do businesses or even to live their normal lives in the Southeast. So the South is going to be a huge challenge for anyone who becomes president. Already, Peter will be saying that, look, he will do some negotiations with IPOP to ensure that there's some kind of peace there. A lot of people are asking, how does he plan to do that? Because IPOP is very clear about its demand. It's either they have their country or nothing else. With some people coming in the Southeast and saying they're not even interested in the elections. So the Southeast presents a serious challenge to all the presidential candidates. So when you're down there, you might as well talk about what you plan to do for them. There are close to 11 million votes there, and all the candidates will be reached out for them. But for INEC, it's a huge challenge on how they are going to even basically conduct election in the Southeast and get the candidates get some of those votes. But yes, promises are there, and in the Southeast, you have to promise them a lot, especially how they are going to achieve some kind of internal cohesion and peace. Soludo talking about that all the time, that look, these things are no longer helping them. It's beginning to cause a lot of problem for the Southeast, even for the economy of the Southeast. So I think Tinubu is targeting that, looking at that and say, look, I'm promising you people, we're going to turn this into an industrial hub.
That wasn't his only target. He also hit at the People's Democratic Party. Presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar saying that he is ill and he needs to take some rest. We haven't heard much about Atiku Abubakar lately, Emmanuel. What are you hearing?
No, but on the contrary, yesterday we saw pictures of him and Kenneth with his people in and they're in London. I think those pictures were meant to fend off those kind of accusation that he has issues of his health, and that's why in the socials they say Atiku was actually away for medical, to get medical help and all of that. But the campaign is forging strongly with pictures, especially pictures. Atiku campaign seems to speak more in pictures than they want to talk about it. So each time you have this kind of accusation, they just fight back with more pictures of what the candidate is doing. And this picture of him gleefully I think there's a story in this day, I think in other papers too, about the deal he's reached or some kind of endorsement he got from an MP, saying that, look, he's got a better plan.
Is the MP going to vote in Nigeria? Is he Nigerian?
Well, the campaign is celebrating it. He's not going to vote, but the campaign is celebrating it. They think that they're saying that, look, if an MP of that nature, could say that, look, this is the kind of person we're looking for, because we're looking for a commander-in-chief that will be able to, attract the kind of goodwill we need to attract around the world. And already the MP was saying, look, Nigeria used to be a colony, and that the synergy between Nigeria as the biggest economy in Africa and the United Kingdom, it's very important. So the campaign was celebrating that anyway, and said, look, we've got some kind of endorsement. And Kenneth, yes, there are people who say the kind of things you say now that it doesn't really matter, but for the campaign it was a big deal. And then for them, why it's also a big deal is, I think they want to fend off all those kind of attacks that, look, the candidate was not well, he went for some kind of medical checkup and all of that. So they're throwing out that no, it wasn't about the medicals, it's about negotiations, it's about getting the buy-in, and they're all doing it. Obi and Kongwaso, for instance, will be in Chatham next week. They try to do that. These campaigns are showing that they are getting some kind of really, really heavy endorsement, and they don't care where they're getting, whether it's from India or China, wherever, if it's going to just boost image and talk about it. But the biggest endorsement they'll be needing is from the Nigerian people.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello. That's a good place to leave it. And that's the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. And you can also join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaybreak.